Hey everyone, welcome back for another deep dive. So we got a really interesting listener request this time around. They want to know more about the economic impacts of deportation, especially when it comes to labor shortages here in the US.
Yeah, definitely timely topic and one with a lot of layers.
Absolutely. And to really get into it, we need to look at a few key things. First, how do deportations lead to gaps in those really important industries? You know, the ones we all rely on.
Right, like the backbone of the economy kind of stuff.
Exactly. And then what does that mean for businesses? How does it affect their bottom line? And of course, we can't forget about us, the consumers. How do these labor shortages impact what we pay for things? I have a feeling it's not good news for our wallets.
Probably not. And then beyond the immediate stuff, we have to consider the long game. Like, what are the potential long-term economic consequences for the entire country? Could we be setting ourselves up for some serious problems down the road?
Big questions. So let's start unraveling this. You know, when we talk about the U.S. economy, we can't ignore the role of immigrant labor. Some industries are really dependent on it.
Totally. We're talking sectors like agriculture, construction, healthcare. They all rely heavily on immigrant workers.
Okay, so picture this. We've got these industries, they're humming along, they need a lot of workers, and then suddenly a big chunk of that workforce is gone through deportations.
Right. And you can't just snap your fingers and replace those workers. These are often jobs that require specific skills, experience.
So you're saying it's not as simple as just, oh, someone left, someone else will take their place.
Not at all. We're talking about labor shortages, plain and simple. And it's not just hypothetical. We're already seeing the effects.
Like what? Give me an example. What kind of real-world impacts we're talking about?
Okay, think about a farmer who can't find enough people to harvest their crops during peak season. That's food going to waste, lost revenue for the farmer, and potentially higher prices for all of us at the grocery store.
Wait, so because there aren't enough workers to pick the food, my grocery bill goes up?
It's all connected. Same thing in construction. Not enough skilled laborers, projects get delayed, costs go up, and who ends up paying for those increased costs in the end?
Makes you think twice about that home renovation, huh? But okay, I get that part. Less workers, higher costs. But is there research to back this up? Like, are we talking about a small increase in prices, or is this something significant?
Oh, it's significant, all right. Some studies suggest that if we continue down this path, we could be looking at a 20% increase in food prices over the next 5 years, just from labor shortages in agriculture alone.
Wow, 20%. That's a huge jump. Okay, so it's hitting our wallets, no doubt. But what about the long-term economic consequences? Is this something that could actually impact the overall health of the U.S. economy?
It's not just about prices at the supermarket. This is about the bigger picture, the long game. Relying heavily on deportation as an immigration policy could actually shrink the overall U.S. economy.
Okay, how so?
Well, think about it. Fewer workers mean less economic output, fewer goods and services being produced, less innovation. All of that weakens our position in the global market.
So we're not just talking about individual industries struggling, we're talking about the whole country becoming less competitive.
Exactly. And it creates this kind of negative feedback loop. A weaker economy could discourage future immigration, further shrinking the workforce and perpetuating the problem.
Man, that sounds like a recipe for disaster.
It's definitely a concerning trend.
So we've talked about the theory, the potential consequences. But are there any real-world case studies that really bring this home? Something concrete that illustrates these impacts?
Well, the agricultural industry in California is a really good example. They've been hit hard by increased deportations, leading to major labor shortages during harvest seasons.
So they just don't have enough people to pick the crops when they're ready.
Right. And it's a domino effect. Farmers struggle to find workers, crops go unharvested, they lose money, and then, like we talked about, consumers end up paying higher prices for produce.
So it's not just an abstract economic theory. It's real people, real businesses, real consequences.
Exactly. It highlights just how interconnected immigration policy and economic stability really are.
Wow, this has been a real eye-opener. So what are the key takeaways here? It seems like the economic impact of deportation is way more complex than most people realize.
Definitely. It's not just about one group of people. It's about businesses, consumers, and the long-term health of the entire U.S. economy.
Absolutely. We've seen how deportations lead to immediate problems like labor shortages and rising costs. But then there's also the potential for long-term damage to the economy as a whole.
It's a lot to consider, and it really raises some important questions, like, are there other ways to address immigration concerns, maybe ways that don't have such a negative economic impact? Are there solutions that are more, I don't know, win-win?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? And it's one that we all need to be thinking about. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive. We hope it's given you some food for thought, and we encourage you to keep learning and exploring this complex issue. Until next time.